Well, I know it would be really hard for you to keep track of room assignments because of the fact that I'm deaf. So that would probably be easy to but we'll go ahead and start. I don't know if you picked up one of these papers that was outside and on the front table, but it has excerpts from Lutheran education, which you can find at the CCLE.org website. But the one that caught my eye right this morning was the second section. Indeed, for what purpose do we, older folks, exist, other than to care for, instruct, and bring up the young? It is utterly impossible for these foolish young people to instruct and protect themselves. This is why God has entrusted them to us, who are older, and know from experience what is best for them. And God will hold us strictly accountable for them. Well, I like that excerpt. And as I was thinking about it, I've been teaching for over 30 years. So I guess I should have some thoughts, possibly some strategies that I could share with people that I've learned in relatively years. That last line though really reinforces high food. And it brings back to mind all those times that I really want to go back to my first class and apologize, ask for their forgiveness. Although I've found that during the years as we've had cause to move and whatever, there's been a lot of first years. And I just currently experienced one more first year. And again, I'm wondering, already I can see things that I'd sure like to apologize to these children for doing. I forgot to do that, and oh, I really thought this was important, and oh, I could have done a better job. And so, fortunately, we live with grace and forgiveness, and every day with God's blessing us, and we start and living that grace of our blessing. But I want to share with you a few things that I've learned, and hopefully some things that will resonate with you, and possibly we'll be able to do some sharing. I don't know that I have an hour and 15 minutes to share, so we'll see how that goes. Although I can get on with it. Teaching at the grammar level is hard work. By the grammar level, I'm talking about teaching young children, teaching them the basic foundations, the vocabulary, the methods, the ways to incorporate things. It is important work. We are involved in classical Lutheran education because we're desiring to repair some of the educational ruins of our culture. We've had various influences that have really damaged the system of education, and we've noticed that. If you go back and look at Horace Mann in the 1840s, he came up with the idea that children could learn a whole word much more easily and quickly than learning the phonetic components of that word and putting it together and doing the laborious work called reading. McGuffey and their spellers and readers and John Dewey really thought that putting things in a grade level system was best. Prior to then, children were taught a body of knowledge, and they stayed at that level until they accomplished that body of knowledge, and then they progressed on. Nobody thought of putting all 7-year-olds in one room and teaching them until May at whatever level they move on, until about then. And then, of course, Charles Darwin, who really put quite a hole in our educational system when, and you may correct me if I'm wrong, it's more than that theory of evolution. We changed, we brought about a whole societal change of that whole view. Our schools no longer teach God as creator and author of all thing. That was pretty much an American standard until that point. So we now see crumbling values, we see struggles with family structure, and so on. So we are looking to go back to take that look at what classically has worked, has stood the test of time, has lasted, and prepare our children to grow not only to be well-educated and thoughtful and moral people, but to be able to be leaders, to be able to speak in defense of their faith, but to also speak in defense of the knowledge that they know and the truth that they've discovered. We want people who are knowledgeable and able to think and share and help in whatever vocation God leads them to. Training them in solid Christian Lutheran doctrine is just a wonderful, strong place. Our tradition of teaching the catechism is something that can easily expand into how to teach men every day. I really enjoyed Dr. Korchak's talk. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. So, at the beginning, at the grammar stage of education, we understand my definition of grammar. We're talking about the undergrades and that first understanding of information. This is foundational. We need a solid foundation. We can't have holes in our cement or have some bricks missing, because we are laying a foundation for all the subsequent years of their learning. You're here because of your desire to provide excellence in a Christ-centered, rigorous program. Now I realize I'm speaking to the choir here, but possibly we can help, we can have some give and take, we can re-energize each other and carry that passion for a true quality education with us. It is a high calling to be able to teach children the very foundations of knowledge. It is a pure blessing to be able to share your love of God with these young children with open, trusting, and fertile minds. How marvelous it must be to be able to teach your own children. I was blessed. I was able to teach my youngest when she was in 5th grade. The child that I saw when she came home seemed fine. She was just a happy little girl, and she did her studies, and she did all that. But watching her as a student was such a blessing. It was marvelous. I didn't even know how unsure of herself and insecure she was as a 4th grader. I had her in 5th grade. I got to watch her bloom and blossom and just shoot up like a rocket. I don't know, what stage of her development, but she was just a little bit on shaky ground. And by the end of that year, she was just very confident and has gone on to do many wonderful things. Actually, she teaches 3rd grade in a Lutheran school in upstate New York. So I'm really pleased for her. She also sees value in sharing with young children. But I wouldn't have seen those things when she came home. She would have just said, oh, no problem. It's okay. No big deal. Those eyes, those faces that light up in the classroom are something that are just magical. So if you teach your children at home, you get that experience all the time. I was blessed to have at the beginning of the curriculum, the grammar approach is well suited to the undergrad because we teach the language, we teach rules, the process commands, as well as all the basic information that exhibits those rules. John Milton Gregory gave us a great help when he pulled together the 7 laws of teaching. And the second page in your handout has a short review of those 7 laws of teaching. I know you're probably pretty familiar with it. If you have not read this book, please do so. It's short. He wrote it to teach people how to become Sunday school teachers. And his words are very wise. But you need to know completely the lesson you wish to teach. You need to teach from knowledge. If you had a teacher who just stood with their nose in the textbook and read the lesson just as you were, it'd be hard to keep your attention and to make it come alive in your mind. If you're a kindergarten teacher, you have to know a tremendous volume of knowledge, because what does every kindergartner ask? But why? Why? I have a 4-year-old granddaughter. Why? Why does that happen? How come? When did that do that? They're just full of questions. And a wonderful, true teacher just teaches without even knowing. They just are always sharing information. You don't sit your granddaughter down and say, I'm going to teach you about rainbows. You just do. But you need to gain and keep the attention and the interest of the pupils on the level. You don't teach without getting their attention. In my school, every grade has a position. Okay, so when I say it's first grade position, they put their feet on the floor, they put their hands, and they look at me, which is marvelous, because I have a few of these in my class, these in my class, these in my class, and the pencil, and it rolls down, so if I didn't have just a cue for them to be able to get back and focus on it, I'm teaching them to focus, and I'm teaching them to listen and to learn. So that's one of the things that we do. And then we use words that are understood by both. Don't talk down to children. They don't want to be talked down, and they can hear it. But certainly speak in a clear, understandable manner. Even if you use large words, that doesn't bother them. They are happy to learn them, understand them, and use them too. So speak what's appropriate for your subject. Use it in a way that is clear and vivid to both of you. And begin with what they already know. Start where they are and take them the next step, and the next step, and the next step. And you're building on all those pieces. When your little one is just toddling and starting to walk, you don't set them out in the middle of the field and say, okay, come over here. You just take, one step at a time, and that's the same sort of thing that you want to do. And stimulate your students to action. Many good teachers seem to have sentences that they're just dangling out there. And the children that are attending and focused on the lesson, they're ready to just give the word. They generally do in their head. Sometimes my first graders just say it right out loud. But that way, they're right there. They're focused. They're completing your thought, and you can see it connecting with them. And so then they feel like they've discovered it. You need to require the student to be able to express whatever it is you've taught. If you can talk to them and they can put something down on paper, we're very happy to use that as an assessment of seeing if they've learned it. They can tell it to someone else. They know what they're talking about. They can teach it to someone. Then you understand they know it really well. You know if you've had a wonderful lesson and it's made a real impact. If a couple of days or a week later you see them on and down. All right, I just want to know, where do you see black in a bubble? The child keeps on talking about bubbles being magnets and bubbles having the north and south pole. And I can understand some of that, but when do you see black in a bubble? That means they've really gone home, they've taken it, they've been sharing everything, and they've been engaged in your lesson, whatever your lesson is. I know the other one that I had this year was the mom who said, enough with onomatopoeia. We have sound words every day. Please, go back to similes. So that was kind of fun. And then, of course, review. You need to go over that information. It deepens that knowledge, it links it to other things, finds new application. And you have the child that goes, oh, that's how it works. And they weren't even, I've been in that situation before. I wasn't even aware that I didn't know until finally all the pieces fell into place. And then I had that aha. Oh, thank you. So when he put those together, he did us a great service. So use that. When you work, when you teach younger children, bring your best. Make it fun. Make it interesting. You affect their view of education. You're laying the groundwork. You don't want to, as the expression is, boil them in the mother's milk. You want them to be excited, avid learners. God gives us such marvelous children. They are so curious. They want to explore. They want to learn. They want to find out. They want to figure out what happens, if they put these things together. We have to continue that. We want to continually feed that curiosity, nourish that desire to learn, because they have a whole long time to keep learning. We certainly want to. Now here is an important point to remember. Not only do they pick up your attitude, they can read it within the first minute of the class. You can walk into a classroom and you can start a class. And the younger they are, the quicker they can read you, because this is a skill that they have that children lose as they age. That they can read you and they'll know if you're approachable. They'll know if you're going to have a sense of humor, if you're going to like them. Liking them is very important. They really don't care what you're going to teach them if you don't like them. And because they know you're there with them along, they have to trust you. So that's very important. You are the strongest influence in their lives that year they're in your classroom. You are with them over 1,000 hours that year. Now, their parents don't have that much engaged time at home with them in the evenings and on weekends. They long for summer to get their children back because every day they hear, oh, Mrs. Dikeman does this, Mrs. Dikeman does this, Mrs. Dikeman doesn't like that. And that can be very tedious for parents. I know, when my son was in first grade, he was in the room across the hall from me. He had this big booming voice, and I heard every answer John gave. Never heard the question, heard every answer. And so I was just hoping, right, because he was mine. But I always wanted to know what was going on. So he would say, no, Mrs. Hopkins says this, Mrs. Hopkins says that. Mrs. Hopkins says the rule is this, Mom. You're not right. You don't know. But John, I teach first grade. No, Mom. It's Mrs. Hopkins says. So I do understand that. It's just something that children, that they feel that in. And we need to respect that. One of my first years also teaching first grade, children were working and I was answering hands and helping them, and this little hand went up and the little boy said, Grandpa! Okay, well, this was even before my children were born, so I could feel old enough to deserve the title of Grandpa, and yet he was calling me his primary caregiver's name. And I was honored by that, because children, who do you call when you need help? And he was calling Grandpa. He wanted me, but it was just a misspeak. But I do know that happened. So your attitude has to be there so that they have that warm, trusting relationship, that they just feel comfortable with you. Your attitude shows, and it makes a powerful impact. It's something that will last. I'm sure you've all had a teacher that you just knew adored you. And you had another teacher somewhere in your career that you just said, she didn't care if I was, or he didn't care if I was there or not. Just kind of. And Sometimes we learn in spite of those, but we don't want to be those kinds of teachers. So if we're working at the grammar stage, we also want to use methods that meet the needs of the child. So we want to use chants and songs and memorization and recitation and games and some competition because they love that. It helps them master the material. I've learned that even in ancient Rome, they would put on plays for their students just to teach them the letters of the alphabet. They wanted them to learn these letters, and so they would do things to make sure that they were focused and got that message across. Now, we can use memorization because memorization is such a key skill for young children. Think about it. Everything they've learned prior to reading, they've learned because they've remembered it. They've heard you. They have memories like elephants. They don't forget anything. But Mom, you said. We've all heard that. Or Dad, you promised. And so this is how they learn. So help them keep that tool for learning by expanding it, deepening it, enriching it, so that they always have a strong memory. Don't disband memorization for other tools, because then they actually have to retrain their approach and say, oh, okay, it doesn't matter what I remember, it just matters what I've read. I have to read it, and then it's true. If I know it in my head, it might not be true, because that isn't something my teacher values. So use that. On the back of my 7 laws, I gave you a couple of, songs. When we were doing Things That Matter, my class and I created this one, it was Tacos the Weasel. And they loved it. We had action, they could sing it. My students will remember the States of Matter up through till the next time that they're taught that. They'll say, oh, well, we know, because it was gap. Because they would sing it, and they would sing it loudly and easily and happily. At the bottom, we do Shirley English, and there are lots of chants and songs and jingles that she has. But every time we said the article adjective, a and the, it was so brief and so steady. It just felt like 3 beats. A and the, a and the. These are the article adjectives, tiny little adjectives. I don't know, maybe I've changed my words. But it's real easy for it to, I kept telling them for quite a bit of the year, this has to fit everyone. It has to. So I finally put some words there, put them together with some words, and so you're welcome to that if it helps you. So we need to plan for excellence. So now that we understand we're working with the needs of children, their way they learn best, how important an impact we have, now we need to look at how do we plan for excellence. Do you have a curriculum guide at your school? You should. And it should be more than that great big binder that sits on the shelf, It should be something that says more than we do Sax and Math, Shirley Grammar, 12 and 11 years of reading. That's it. That's our curriculum. You need a curriculum that you've written out that if a parent comes in or a visitor comes to your school, you can easily say, well, in math, we teach addition and subtraction with summary grouping. We teach money, pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars. They can add and subtract with those. We teach time, hour, half hour, 5 minutes. We really teach to the minute. We teach fractions. They can take a whole unit. They can break it into some fractional parts, and they can add some of those fractional parts. We skip count by 2s, 5s, 10s, and 9s, and 3s, and 4s, because 1 and 2. And so things like that actually give real information. Now, we wrote these out, and we give them to our parents at the beginning of every year. Just a short little paragraph like that. They just spell it out into covering. It's good and it's bad. If you write it out, you better do it. If you're homeschooling and you write it out, you still better do it. Because this is your plan. When you plan for excellence, you plan for your full year. And then you break it down and say, okay, well, this is what I hope to accomplish this year. I better do some long-range planning. How am I going to do science, for instance? Do I want to teach just one strand of science and teach life sciences all year long? And so maybe I want to have a unit on, do a quarter on botany, and a quarter on animals, and a quarter on fish, and a quarter on people. So we can do some botany. Or do I want to have a quarter on life sciences and a quarter on chemistry and a quarter on earth sciences and a quarter on physical science? So it gives you a framework for review. It helps you organize and it helps you put things together in a good direction. That long-range planning is really helpful. For instance, with Bible time and catechism, of course you have your catechism, but your Bible time actually should have a curriculum too. And I'm going to share my personal beliefs since we're looking at younger ages. You have to start with just, I don't know. I know some schools have a 3-year lectionary, and maybe this is the year that you're supposed to start on the New Testament. But if you're teaching at the younger grade, you have to start with Genesis, because they have to know God created the whole thing. When they read the Apostles' Creed, they have to understand that. And then they have to see the fall. They have to see sin. They have to see the need for Savior. So when you get to Advent, you get to Christmas, now we see the fulfillment of Jesus' birth. We see that promise fulfilled. And so it just fills that need for order in their mind. And they can skip around quite a bit after that, but you do have to start with it. I think that's really important. In reading, I've put together units. I put them in order of increasing level of difficulty. So actually, at the beginning of the year, the first book we read is the very handicap. And so we're looking at pretty simple books. But lesson plans aren't exactly what fit neatly in one of those purchase books. But lesson plans, daily lesson plans, actually need to be something that works for you. It should be something that you can go back to when the next child is old enough for that grade, or those materials, or the next year. Because if you've spent time truly developing a wonderful quality lesson plan, it's something that you can use, and you're not reinventing what that lesson is year after year. You should list what the objective you want to teach is, what the activity you want to be involved in, what you hope the children will be able to do, questions you want them to answer, or something you want them to be able to come away with. And then you should be able to write the resources that you use. If you found something on the internet, put that URL address right there. So you're not saying, oh, I found something, it was so good, where did I find it? If you had a book, list it there. Put all your resources there. So the next year when it's time to do your butterfly unit, you look at those lesson plans, and now you're building on what was something that worked out pretty well before, and now you're making it better. And definitely go back after your lesson and put a comment or two there. Say, don't ever do this. Or, this was really good. Or, they didn't like the story. Whatever it is. Make it work for you. That gives you a whole lot more information than page 93, because looking back a year from now, page 93 still looks pretty boring. So help yourself. Every year you can get improvement and on and on. We put together our reading units like this, and so here are a lot of things that we want to do, the activities, the objectives, and we like to try to find a Bible verse. If we're trying to teach this whole Christian worldview where they see everything through the eyes of faith, it only makes sense that you share some of God's word with them where it's appropriate. And so, actually for Blueberries for Sal, we have, at all times, remember God. He has shown kindness by giving you rain from heaven and crops in their season. And then children say, oh yeah, God does make blueberries for us. So we put things in these sleeves, all of these worksheets. They're very easy to pull out what you want, make copies, and then you've got them. If you want to replace them, you just pull them out of the sleeve. But it keeps all the flashcards, all the pictures of blueberries, answer sheets, and these lovely little things that we all end up buying all the time, right there. And here's a lovely picture that we got of somebody picking blueberries. And so that was just nice. But I've also included extensions and additional books. Here is a book called Blueberry Shoe that I like to read during story time when I'm doing Blueberry stuff. And of course another great book by Robert He made Dikeman. So it's there. I used to be very neat with my books, and I used to keep them all on the bookshelf. And then every time I had to go find the book. And if some little person was reading them, it was lost. So this has just made life a lot easier. And that's been very helpful. And integrate. Definitely talk about different subjects at the same time. Certainly there's no magic formula about reading can only be done during reading time, and you can't ever talk about a recipe for blueberry muffins during reading time because that would be math and science, and so hold on to that. Teach all the time. Make use of all those connections and opportunities. When I was teaching older students, I used this book. I didn't use it as much this year, but I have children write. They have a copybook, a little composition book. And so every morning, my older students did this first thing in the morning. My first graders did not, just because they didn't have the skills at the beginning of the year. First grade, I give them, at the beginning of the year, I give them a short Bible verse or a short quotation. And if on one line, they write the next line down. They write right below it. With my older students, I would have it on the overhead, and I would put something worth thinking about. A great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. Only the educated are free. Matters of worth are learned without effort. Mark Twain, the man who does not read good books has no advantage over the man who cannot read them. Different thoughts like that. I also have recipes. I have Bible verses. I have stanzas from a song, passages from poems, different thoughts. It was pretty interesting when I was teaching 6th grade a couple of years ago. I had been doing this with them, and then about in November we got a new student in the class. And 6th grade students that move in the middle of the year feel a little uncomfortable, and they do try to check out how the lay of the land, how things go. And so he was there at the back of the room getting his books and just saying, oh, I don't like homework, I think school's dumb, I don't know why I'm here, this is all very boring, I don't know, I don't need to learn this. And one of my girls would drive around and she said, but don't you, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the other part. I'm just going to go get a job and make all this money. That was his word. She looked around and said, don't you know how important for families and education to take care of this? It was kind of like, we wrote that weeks ago. Weeks ago. It gave me goosebumps. I was so excited. I was privileged enough to actually hear that conversation. It wasn't that she just shared it with me, because they went on about their way. I never heard them complain so much about homework after that. But she didn't even know what a gift that was. She had remembered those words. Hit her heart. They're stuck in her mind. And it's just because I had them on the board, she got them. And then we talk about them after attendance, after prayer, and all of those things. I said, Martin Luther thought this for a long time ago. How do you feel about it? Is that still true today? We discussed it, and we went on. But there, we came back. It was marvelous. I was just excited. Use your time well. Integrating, planning well, finding connections helps you to provide a really full education. I did say we have all these hours with these children. And before you know it, you didn't cover something on a day that you knew you should have covered it. Or at the end of the week, oh, you didn't quite get that lesson done. Use your time well and wisely. Plan it carefully. Use all the time you're given. I know the hours left stand falling down, but when I take my children to the bathroom, I had 23 students, and so it took a couple of minutes. Well, I had one of two choices. I could stand there and say, shh, be quiet, turn around, face the front, hands down, don't bother your neighbor. And as they talk and talk. But what I did was I used that time. That's when we did skip counting. That's when we looked at patterns. Boy, boy, girl, 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 boy. You know, they really liked the girl, girl, boy. Actually, I had 15 girls and 7 boys. Whatever, that's not the right name. Yeah. 16 girls. So they really liked having me put them in patterns. And so we would do that. Or we would recite. We practiced poems. We practiced memory work. We practiced. Sometimes that's when I would listen to their Bible, their catechism, their Bible passage each day. You know, as the first 3 came out, I could get them done, and before I had very much go on. I also used it when I would line up kids after recess. I could go through the sentence jingle and the noun jingle, and I would have first, second, and third graders all quiet, over 100 kids would be walking to school. That quick, they got the last of the stragglers in, and then there's not a lot of jostling in the line because everybody's engaged doing something, and then I didn't have to stand there saying, quiet, quiet, quiet. When you're quiet, we can go in. You don't need to waste your time. So those things help, and it just helps them learn. Now, with our memory work, they were practicing it 2, 3, 4 times a day. None of our children probably had to practice it at home very often. I never heard from parents saying, we're tired of memory work. Because they already knew it pretty well by the time they went home. They still were practicing spelling words, but not so much of the memory work. And so then all of those things happen. It keeps the kids very excited, very good, very engaged, and they want to learn. Children want to be happy with it. They like it. They like feeling good about the work they've done. So it all fits together. Okay, then we also need to communicate with parents. We need to work together. We're a team. We, as teachers, are operating under their authority, in their stead, under the 4th commandment. And so, as we work with the children need to understand very well that we're a team. Mom and Dad and teacher all want to see the very same thing. We want the very best education for this child so that they can grow and develop their potential and be able to be successful now in the future be wonderful, well-adjusted, well-capable people for whatever God has in store for them. Their job right now is to be the best student possible, and it's our job to help them get there. And we're working together on it. So that's pretty important. So at back to school night, I share a folder. Actually, this is the student folder. This is the fish folder. First grade important sheets and handouts. But it makes a nice fish. And so the parents get to see it. They get to see everything that gets put in here. I put a Ziploc baggie because then all the money, little slips that have to come back get in the Ziploc baggie and they're not loose everywhere. But I have a letter for first grade parents, information. I give them my expectations for them for homework. Here's what you should do daily. Pray for the children and with the children. Practice their memory words, practice their spelling words, read to your child, with your child, and let them see you read on your own. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, there's math work that has to come home and some phonics pages that come home. Weekly, there's words, there's flashcards, there's readers, and sometimes other activities, other pages. So they get to know this. They also see they also get a copy of the curriculum. Dangerous if you're not going to follow it, but it does keep you on your toes. They get a copy, I think it's of When Show and Tell. Chance for the children to get up, and the children loved it. Their favorite part of Show and Tell. Any questions or comments? And then I also send a copy of this little letter that they get now. If they get it during the year, it's green, and it says, I'm really sorry to tell you, but today was not the best day. I'm really sad. Don't get too upset, because this is the best way for them to learn the rules, and this is how we handle it at school. But you need to know, because I want you to encourage them to look at it. And then we all fall short and need to remember our Bible verse. And we have Hebrews 12:11. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who train them. And so we hope that. Oh, and I tell them at that back to school night. Every child will pull a card. If they don't, I'll be concerned. Because we all sin daily and much. And if I don't catch my Johnny talking, I probably wasn't paying attention, because they probably do. Although I truly had to cheer when Clara got in trouble for talking. She was very, very quiet. And just don't remember that she was talking. And then when her mom came, yes, she pulled the card. I'm so glad. However, after Christmas, I really do tell the children, you shouldn't have to pull anything. You weren't. And actually telling them that helped make that happen. They had to know there was time for that to come. So I also give them help with the phonics sounds. And at back to school night, I provide a list. There's some things that would help you have things in your classroom to do some projects. If you've done that year planning, if you've done those units, if you thought it through, you'll know that it might not be till January that you want 34 toilet paper tubes so that you can make binoculars or whatever. You can't ask for that a week ahead of time. It's just not going to happen. But if you put it on a list, or you put it on an envelope, and you put these envelopes around the room, and it has all the directions in there, parents will happily pick it up and then provide it. And so you might get, 2 yards of corduroy material with some loose buttons. So when you read the story Corduroy, you've got this packet of material, and it didn't cost any additional funding. So those are some helpful hints that really work well. But it also brings the family into connection with the school. And then, of course, newsletters. Keep your parents informed. If you send your newsletters through email, you can include pictures. Something that we wouldn't be able to print, but it's something that they love seeing. And although I didn't personally like it, it pushed me. If you send them out on Friday, parents like it because then they know the vocabulary words coming up for the next week. They know the spelling words that you're going to have next week. They know the Bible verse that you're going to study next week, or the commandments or whatever. And so they're already thinking that instead of waiting until Monday night. What are your words? Quick, because Friday's off the quick. So that all helps. So the other thing then, after we've communicated, we've planned well, the other piece that we need to help children really succeed in the grade is discipline. Discipline is a real big subject. We need to look at the best example we have, and actually, Scripture tells us a lot about how God takes a look at that, and we can work to imitate Him. Proverbs 1:7 and 8. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. Listen, my son, to your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. We would like to be imitators of God as your children. He, as the perfect Father, shows us how to do it. And discipline is an art of imitation. Discipline, at the beginning, comes from outside and surrounds us and guides us and directs us. Eventually, the discipline is on the inside, where we do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, whether we feel like we'd like to or not. And we are constantly dealing with that. We're constantly tempted, and yet most of the time we make the choice to do the right thing because we know it's right. But with young children, you actually have to teach them, train them, and then either bless them or curse them. Curse is kind of a hard word, but that's as best as I could figure was the opposite of bless. We need to teach everything. It might seem really awkward, but we have to tell them, when you sit there like that, when you say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, that's respectful to me, that's respectful to others. You have to tell them that, because they don't know. It's not just intuitive. And so you have to say things like that. When God gives command, He's clear, He's concrete. Let there be, and there is. He's preparatory. He gives directions before the example. So again, having them sit at first rate position and going through the directions before you give them the paper, then they're not fiddling with it or drawing horses or parts on it. They're listening to you. Set the expectations right from the start. Coach them through the beginning. These first few weeks of school are really important. I am so glad you put your name on your paper. Did you remember to put your number on there as well? Did you write the date of September out, or did you use the year? Those are very good points. Thank you for remembering that. Just that kind of talk helps all of the children. Oh, okay, I can do that too. So those are things that you want to do. Commands can be positive and negative. We have wonderful examples of that too. Honor your father and your mother, or you shall not. And so we need to check how we talk to children. We can explain it either way. We need to anticipate temptations before they happen and explain how to avoid them. All right, children, we're lining up and we're going to chapel. Now, do you remember what we want to do when we get used to it? When you sit down, you're not going to be nudging your neighbors. You are going to have your eyes up front. You're going to be listening to Pastor. You're going to be singing with a wonderful voice. You're not going to be giggling and whispering to your neighbors. Because those are the things that we do in God's house. And you have to go ahead and say all of the words, even if they sound like it's overkill in your mind, because they really are learning. We have to address, God addresses action and attitude, and we need to address action and attitude too. And God does, and I'll come back to that one. God doesn't tempt beyond what we're able to handle. And so we also need to allow students a safe backup plan. It's okay for students to use you. Well, I can't do that. She'll do that. She'll watch. She's watching. She has eyes in the back of her head. She's coming. I can't get up and talk. She's coming. And those kinds of things. And that helps children who are trying to do the right thing. You're giving them that support. As I said, God addresses action and attitude, and we need to do that too. Proverbs 21:11 deals with that. We have to deal with issues of heart, of attitude, right away. Proverbs 21:11 says, when the scoffer is punished, the naive become wise. Well, we've all had plenty of scoffers. We have like 3 types of children in our classroom. Those that are wise, and they come to school, and they put their things away, and they sit there in first grade position, and they're just waiting for you to feed them fountains of information. And they know what is expected. They're wise. And then you have the naive children who come, and they're watching everything. And they don't answer, and they don't move much, because they're just watching to see how it works. And then you have the children that are pushing your buttons. They want to see where those boundaries are. They want to test. Do you really mean it when you say something? Well, you really have to mean it when you say it. And so you have to address rolling eyes. You have to address those little... You have to address them. Because if you don't, well, they've found out they can be disrespectful 3 or 4 times before you call them on it. But it's the naive ones that you have the biggest problem with because they're watching you. And if the scoffers can get away with being disrespectful and scoffing, the naive ones learn they can get away with being disrespectful and scoffing, and that's okay. And the wise ones now truly roll their eyes because you've just lost all credibility. I thought she was going to be, but I guess she didn't. Because if they recognized that it was disrespectful, they thought you should too. But you have to use a lot of self-control when you do this, because they're all watching you. You have to speak the truth in love to them. And you have to explain to them. I am so sorry to hear you say that because that hurts. That hurts my feelings, and when my feelings are hurt, I get very sad, and when I get very sad, I can't hold on. And now nobody's learning this lesson because you do. And do you think you could do a better job? Thank you. Wonderful. I am so glad. Let's go on. Okay. And so the children need to hear that whole kind of dialogue. They need to hear that you can forgive, you can take care, you can go on. And so then you're encouraging them, you're blessing them. One of the things that I have realized that I just recently heard is if you tell a child directions, okay, I want you to get up, line up at the door. When we line up in this room, we're going to go quickly, push in our chairs, line up in a straight line at the door, face front, no talking. Do you understand what you're going to do? And they'll all go, And will they do it? They don't understand. They have a different definition of all of those words. So, you need to let them line up. You see that line, and you see this going on, and you see still some people sitting in their desks and just barely getting up. And you have to go ahead and say, this is terrible. This is just pitiful. And you have to You have to let those words sink in. And you have to see if they will adjust. Because otherwise, then it just becomes a lot of pressure. They know 4 or 5 times what they have to do. But then what you have to do is you have to practice it. You have to encourage them. You have to say, you know what? Let's practice this one again. Everybody sit down. Okay, let's line up. That is so much better. And let that come. Go sit down again. I'm going to time you this time. Let them get excited. Let them race to obey you. Children, eager, please, let me line up. Can you imagine such a thing? It's really kind of exciting. I would practice with mine, and they loved it because, of course, some of the scenarios I say, okay, talk. We're going to practice first grade position now. Hold on, please. Just talk. Okay, first grade position. And they loved it, and they just were grinning just to obey. Well, that's kind of exciting. But if you don't let them practice, they really don't know where your standard is. So it gives them that opportunity to see that standard. So that's training. Training is the most important tool for behavior. You have to practice, you have to coach them, and you have to let them be praised or cursed or not. You have to let that be quiet. Let your words sink in. You want them to behave. God has put you in the place that you are. You have a place of authority, and this is how you teach children to respect them. I've heard this little chant, this little cheer, and I'm going to use it next year. Obey, right away, all the way, and with a good attitude every day. I can't wait. I want my children to obey, right away, all the way, with a good attitude every day. I want it immediate and complete and cheerfully. I really want them to be happy, obeying. That would be exciting. I do see it. I do see children just thriving and enjoying what they're learning. That's great. And so, in summary, as we teach the other grades, we have to know what's important for us to be teaching. We have to teach it in a way that's clear to them. And we have to, through the grace of God, give it our best effort all the time. And that comes through a lot of good communication, a lot of wonderful things, and a lot of prayer. Do you have any questions?
What was the last half of that?
Of that cheer?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to get it wrong, so let me look at the word. It was obey, right away, all the way, with a good attitude, every day. And one of the best things teachers can do is share. Share good things with each other. If it works for someone else, it'll work for you too. And hopefully some of these things that I've learned over 30 years might be a help too.
2 questions. One, where did you get quotes and things that you used for your morning copy work?
I've been collecting them for years.
Where'd you, it's one of those things, thinking back, I know I've seen things like that, but where can I go to just find
you
some?
can't.
Yeah, exactly.
I could give you a copy of mine. And I had a wonderful mom put them on a CD disc so that I could pull them up on my computer because I printed them on overhead. Actually, one time I had a partner, friend, a young teacher, and I said, okay, I tell you what, I'll find a bunch of quotes and you find a bunch of quotes and then let's switch.
Yeah.
So that we found them on greeting cards. We found them on calendars.
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
I found them in history books. I found them in excerpts from literature, little blurbs on stories, on good books. that Mark Twain quote. I guess there are books of quotations, but you have to find ones that appeal to children. And
Did you grade those for handwriting?
I graded them for handwriting fairly. I did, actually, with sixth grade. I was thinking my first graders, and there I'm just, if they can write it and they can trace all the words, that was fine. But actually with my sixth graders, when they could give me 10 perfect papers, all the strokes beautiful stuff, I gave them a fountain pen.
Oh, wow.
Which is really difficult. Now, I just read an article that said first graders maybe should use pens, and then they're not always sharpening their pencil, and then the point is not uneven. You know, those kids that have to have the sharpest point all the time, and they write 2 strokes, and then they have to sharpen it again. You won't have kids with that deft grip on their pen as much as they do with their pencil, because the pencil, the lead on a piece of paper, it still comes out a thin, pale gray, and that goes away when you use a pen. So I'm going to try my copy work with a pen this year.
I will warn you, I'm a lefty, and that would have destroyed my handwriting as a kid.
Okay.
My hand was always covered and smudged
Sure.
from ink.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Right in Hebrew.
Mm.
They say Moses was left-handed.
Well, there you go. Well, here I have the Lord's Prayer, I have the Apostles' Creed, I have the commandments. I mean, we have plenty of things to start with. When it was fall, I gave them a trail mix recipe. I can remember because it had candy corn in it. So they could go home and they could make the recipe. They could measure out the ingredients and put that together. And it was nice to hear from the parents that some of them actually did. Can I take my penmanship, my copybook home? I want to make this. So we had several pieces here. But
What grades did you do this with first graders too, or was it for older, when you taught the older grades?
this complete collection of quotations was with older grades. When I have my first graders, I do still have them write, but I don't put it up on the board for them to copy. I put it on a piece of paper and they copy. And when they were writing, when they were learning, memorizing Psalm 1, we wrote that verse by verse. And then the week we wrote, he is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yield its fruit in season, whose leaves do not wither. We painted, and I stapled those papers right above their penmanship paper, so that you just saw their painting and their penmanship. And that was really nice. That was really if you would like, I'd send you a CD.
Okay, yeah.
Is there
Now-
a curriculum on it, or?
I don't have a curriculum. I just have a collection. If you wanted to design one and put it together in some order and fashion, that'd be marvelous. You could market it. This is what I do with my first graders. I put this up in the little pocket chart so that they have things available. And
You do spalding?
yeah,
You do spalding?
we do.
And you do meals?
You do spalding?
Oh, we don't do spalding.
You
I'm
don't
sorry.
do spalding.
We don't. We do sax
Yeah.
and phonics.
Okay, I'm
We
going,
do sax and
how
phonics.
did you pull that off?
Yeah.
I was like, it is possible.
And,
Yeah.
and actually, I've been trained in spalding, and I incorporate some spalding things in my sax and phonics. But whatever system you use, they both work. They're very phonetic, they're very clear. I can see some positive things in the sax and phonics. For one, I really like the critical markings that they teach. They teach breeds and make runs right from the start. And so as children, you know, the little curve for a
Okay.
short vowel
Okay.
sound and the line for
Yeah.
a long vowel sound, they have digraphs and trigraphs, they have diphthongs. things that parents are more familiar with, and you'll find in dictionaries. And so as a child gets older, they just go right down to the bottom of the dictionary page, and they see those same diacritical markings, and they go, oh, okay. And spelling doesn't have that transfer. So but I have taken the spelling composition book, and I've put that in my Saxon program, because that's very good. Very wonderful. So I'm glad I know both. And actually that goes back to curriculum. You know, don't say, when you're telling people, a parent, what your curriculum is, we will always be looking for the best material. So your published book may change. Your curriculum shouldn't, but you'll always find a wonderful resource. And when you find something good, you'll want to use it. You don't want people to say, but you're a classical school. I thought that meant you used both. So if you've changed your system, are you now classical? You wouldn't want them to think that this identifies you as being a classical school. Do you like the Spalding penmanship then?
Not necessarily. I mean, she likes Danilian, and I.
But that's what I like.
Well,
No.
and
I don't
I'm really
like.
happy with ball and stick myself.
And I don't really
That's
like the
a
grip.
Oh.
The Spalding grip?
The Spalding.
I know, I never use it, and my
Okay,
kids
you know.
pick on me, and I said, you know what? You have to use it because that's the way your teachers coming up will need you to do that. And I don't, because I never learned that way. Because I'm gonna need it later, you know. And it's hard. The Spalding grip is that you pinch between your thumb and middle finger, and you have flip-flop finger. And it is possible to write that way,
And then you.
but my handwriting looks better if I don't. So.
And it's a soft grip, so you can just
Right.
pull it out, and
You
it's
should be able
supposed
to
to
just
look
stick
like
your
an
pencil
O, and it's very.
But then I don't
And
have
then
that
your
much
fingers are down.
Jefferson's making a comeback, right?
But then,
Jefferson's grip?
is that Jefferson's grip?
I don't know, I just.
Right. Yeah.
Do any of you have the little barrel gripping kits?
My own daughter is like that. I have twins that are 6. I think they're mirror image because one's a righty, and I think the one that writes like that should be a lefty because all sports she does left-handed, and I can't make her use her left hand. And that's how she holds her pencil. And all the time, Savannah, get your fish lips, Savannah.
Now,
And she'll tell me, I'm not at school. I'm like, too bad.
but you
It's
know what?
practice.
I have looked that up, and I can't remember which penmanship company said that their research has shown ultimate improvement. And I went,
Yeah.
that flies in the face of everything I've taught. Yes.
I've never seen one. I taught preschool and saw kids that did that, but
Well, I think that's what they're looking at. They're going to keyboarding.
like that.
No.
Yeah, I just.
That he wrote like this.
I couldn't fix that. Do any of you have any other information?
I had a 3rd grader 2 years ago that wrote like this. And her handwriting was beautiful. And at that point I decided, you know what? Rather than fight your grip, I'll take the nice
See,
penmanship.
this one will hurt your hand eventually.
Yeah.
It will split. It will tend to get your fingers so that when you're in your 70s, you'll be like this. But
They make those pins though now
Yeah.
that way.
I don't.
Look at his fingers, look how old he is.
yeah, you will have.
Yes, I think ultimately this is where our fingers go. We do very little.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, they do the.